How's everybody doing? This is Ben with BRG Music, back with another little video lesson today. Just wanted to talk about some simple things you can do for fun. You're exploring guitar, messing around a little bit. Things that are sweet, fun tricks to kind of make guitar just fun to mess around with. Not worried about playing full songs, learning theory or anything, just cool little deals you can just pick up a guitar and do for fun. And these kinds of things get used in songs too, you know, all these little noises and tricks. Let's start with some real simple stuff, you know, like you've got your pick, you know, right? It's windy, so you're going to hear that little deal. On the side of your pick, like not where you pick, but the very edge of it, what a lot of people do is they drag that pick down the string. And that's a really cool sound. I used to take my dad's guitar picks and like grind on them until I had like a groove in them. I don't know why, I just thought it was cool. But just sliding that pick down the string. What I did there was I slid my hand. You know, pick the string and slide your finger down the string. Those things, when put into context, they actually sound great. Slides with your finger, you know, keeping that note going and moving it around. Pick slides like I was doing in the beginning. Those sound awesome, and they give your ideas a whole lot more character and personality, you know. So I used to do that a lot. You could just play this E power chord with your first finger on the second fret of the A string and the open E string. Like think about going there, do a pick slide, and hit those two strings, and you've got a really sweet sound, right? It's a lot of fun. And then you can do the same thing with your fretting hand. Just basically slide your hand down to that chord. I'm actually sliding with my middle finger and then hitting that chord with my first finger. So I get that blend of the two sounds, you know. There's no break when I go to, you know, move my first finger off the string. I'm sliding the second finger, so I've got constant contact, slides continuing, and then the pick hits when this finger's in position, you know, again. That's a really sweet little idea, okay? And you're going to hear so many people do that it's cool, and it's something that I picked up on early on and thought was sweet, you know. Another thing that I learned early on that I thought was really cool and not that hard to do, that looked super impressive, was tapping. And ironically, talking about this now, Eddie Van Halen recently passed away, and he was a big deal in my life when I was a kid. You know, my dad was a guitar player, and Beat It came out with that solo, and my dad was always talking about Eddie and how he got around the guitar and how it was impossible, but how does he do it? You know, oh my gosh, you know. Eddie Van Halen's playing is, you know, it was an inspiration to everybody. You know, he was definitely someone who changed the game, Jimi Hendrix style, you know, like this huge deal. Like there's pre-Van Halen and post-Van Halen, and that's kind of how, you know, it was done. You know, there's pre-Hendrix and post-Hendrix. So what he did was this tapping thing, and the way I learned it early on, I don't do it this way anymore, but I take my index finger and essentially fret with my index finger and, you know, do something with my left hand. A real simple way to do that is turn your guitar on and just see if you can pick a fret and just... What I'm doing is I'm really hard I'm popping down on the 12th fret of the E string. You can do it on any fret, but I'm just going to hit the 12th. If you want to get that, you know, start moving that around, you know, see what it sounds like. I'll just play a little pattern. There I'm just doing 12, 14, and 15 with just my right hand and just hammering the string, popping off of it. 12 off, 14 off, 15 off. The popping off the string keeps the string alive, so the notes continue. You know, you don't have a dead. If you actually and you take your hand off, it's not. It kind of does it automatically, but when you give it a little extra, like kind of a like hit the string and kind of just gently rotate off, you get a nice. It's almost a slight circular motion that gets that to sound cool. So what I can do is I can take and add to that, and you can move your hand here and get different sounds. So right now I'm going to the 12th fret to the open string, which is the same note. That sounds okay. But if I move this, let's say the 5th fret, and do the same thing. See, that's different than the other one. Essentially moving the lowest note that's being played to somewhere else. So I can move that now. And get different sounds that way. Building on that idea, we can start to incorporate our other fingers from our left hand. If you know some patterns, a real simple one is to do the same thing, tap 12, and use your first and second finger and do something like this. Sounds pretty crazy, right? And looks impressive when you do it. But all I'm doing is I'm tapping 12, popping my finger off, 5 is playing, and then hammering on to 6 with my second finger. So it's like, if you tab that out, it'd be 12, 5, 6. And think of it like this. The rhythm would be like triplet, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now that might sound too eerie. You might not like that sound. So move this around and see if you can get the sound more to your liking. I like this sound. I love that eerie tone. But if I move it like a fret this way, I'm playing 4 and 5. It's different, isn't it? It sounds nice and almost happy, major kind of sound, you know? Versus, so where you play is a huge deal, you know? It's the same exact pattern, but I move this left hand down a fret. And I've got this completely different sound, you know? It's no longer eerie, it's happy. So there's that, and then I can continue to add and change fingers and everything else, right? So we do the same thing. We'll go back to 5, and we'll do it with the first and third finger. So I'm playing 5 and 7 on the left hand and 12 with the right hand. And there you've got a really nice sound. In fact, that 5 and 7 works with that 4 and 5 that I just played. For a really nice sound, all right? So think of that. Now I've got 4, 5, and 7 I can play together with that 12, and I've got a nice deal I can move around. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to start going crazy there. And then the last one, just using 2 fingers, I can do 5 and 8 and then 12. And we've all heard that before, you know, maybe. That's kind of classic. That shape, that first to pinky, and then the higher note is classic. That's Eruption, you know. He's playing that same shape, but he's doing on the B string. He's doing 2 and 5 and then 9. So that's where that kind of starts. So that shape is great to practice. So that's really cool, you know, that's a super usable idea. Now with these kinds of things, you can start to get pretty crazy and do some really nice sounds really fast and start to sound like you know what you're doing, even though you're not really learning songs and stuff. When you're doing this, you're really experimenting and getting control of the guitar and distortion and all the sounds. Let's take that 4 and 5. So first and second finger, and we'll do 12. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this idea, I'm going to walk it across the strings. I'm going to do 12 on the string, then 4, and then 5, and I'm going to keep walking it. So 12 will hit, and then I'll do 4 and 5, and I'll just walk it across the strings like this. So whoops. So I just did 12, 4, 5, and then the next string 4, 5, 12, and 4, 5. And it seems really cool. Especially as you go quicker, it's more confusing. Do the same with 5 and 7. And then the 5 and 8. So those are some pretty sweet ideas, and that I found early on that I could take those types of things and do them in little groups and get some really sweet sounds. Like the 5 and 7 was one I did a lot, and I would move it 3 strings at a time. I go back a string, like, so there I did the E string, the B string, and the G string, 12, 5, 7, 12, 5, 7, 12, 5, 7, and then go back to the B, and then go B, G, D, 12, 5, 7 each, and then go back to the G, and then go G, D, A, and then go back to the D, and go, D, A, E, and then go back up the same way, kind of leapfrogging. I've talked about that before with picking and stuff. Patterns are great, you know. And that sounds really cool, doesn't it? You know, I think that's sweet. It looks really cool, and what happens is a lot of times when you're playing some of these patterns, that 7th fret on certain strings is the same note as the 12th on the next, so you get this kind of cool repeat. Which, you know, is an awesome kind of sound. My hand moves, and you hear this kind of confusing thing. Now, if I do that same thing on 4 and 5, I don't get that repeat of note, but I still have a really cool pattern. 5 and 8, same thing. Which is really kind of sweet. Then you got notes that are like a half step off of your tapped note, you know, previous. So if I play like say the G string, I'm playing 5 and 8, and I'm hammered. Then in my next string, I'm hammering onto that D string. I'm actually, when I play 5 and 8 on the G string, I'm playing a D sharp or an E flat on the 8th fret, and then I play a D. So I'm playing a note like lower than my fretted note here when I hit this, just like it could be played like. So it's really a simple pattern like that. I'm playing 5, 8, 7 on the G string, right, in this case. In my tapping pattern, I'm playing the same thing. But I'm hitting that on the next string, right? So it's the same. It's kind of cool. Think about that. You've got a number of different ways to get different sounds out of your guitar. So, and that's what a lot of great players do is you've only got 12 notes. And the ways that you mix them up make all the difference in the world as far as how you sound and what you do. You know, you can play that pattern a number of different ways. And that's a whole other can of worms we can get into. And we will, believe me, as far as like sounds and whatnot. So there's a couple things for you to play with. Tapping was a really fun thing to do early on. And, you know, going back to where we were, we moved the left hand around. And early on, I moved the right hand as I was explaining tapping. So I can do a combination of those, like say I'm at 5 and 7. Now I've got this hand. What if I want to move my right hand while tapping? I'm just moving my hand around there, and I'm doing like 12, 14, 15. I did 10, I did 17. Just kind of a pattern. It's a part of a scale, and it sounds good. But you can move it however you feel and get different sounds and experiment. Don't worry about, is this in key? Is this scale? Do I like how that sounds? Yes. Remember what it is, because you're going to use it. So I was doing 12, 14, and 15. What if I want to try something different? I did 13 instead of 14, and that's perfectly legit. I love the way that sounds. What if I did 13 or did 16 instead of 15 with 13? Then I'm doing like 12, 13, and 17. 12, 13, 16, and 17, and then holding 5 and 7. I've got a sweet sound. So they've all got uses and everything, and you can move the left hand too and see if you can experiment with that. I'm doing 5 and 7, but 4 and 5 would also work. And then you can also, with your tapping hand, slide and do some really cool little things. In fact, for example, there, I was doing like this. So I slide that finger, I hit that 12. Slide it to 13 and slide it back. That's just an easy one to do because it's one fret. You can obviously go slide into 15 instead of 13, and you can slide down, you can slide up, whatever. Here I'm sliding 12 to 10 and kind of just dropping off. And you can like monkey around and see what sounds cool. Tapping is so sweet. It looks impressive. It sounds killer. It takes the guitar away from just being something that's played like this, with you're kind of limited as far as how far you can stretch by your physical hand size. I can pretty comfortably, on one side, 5 to 11 or whatever, and work on stretching and do those kinds of things. And play with that kind of stuff. But as far as like really quickly playing something that sounds really good, tapping gets me a much wider range as far as things I can play on one string. Say I'm real comfortable with 5 to 9 here and I want to play some notes. Now if I widened it out to where I'm playing 5, 9, 14, 15, 17, whatever. So I become much more, my range is increased, which is really cool. I'm no longer limited by the size of my left hand. All of a sudden I've got extra digits, and some people will play with multiple fingers when they tap. Not something I worked on a lot and kind of wished I would have. I spent a lot more time with my picking hand because every time I saw this, I just like, that's great. You can tap all that stuff. And it just didn't interest me as a player. And I will play it sometimes, work on my finger patterns like this. But as far as like things I like to play, they're more pick oriented. But like simple tapping would really helped. Like I said earlier in the video though, with tapping, I don't tap with my first finger anymore. What I do now is I hold my pick and I use my middle finger to tap, or my ring finger, depending on how I want to do it. But say, for example, I play like an idea with my pick. See, my pick is still in my hand here. I don't have it in my mouth or anything, or I didn't drop it. What I do is I keep that pick in hand and I use that middle finger to tap a lot of times and slide and all that stuff. And it really helps me keep my pick where I wanted and gets me ready for the next idea. I don't have to reach up and I don't lose track of my pick, and it doesn't have spit all over it when I'm playing live. Which I don't know. I don't want my own spit all over my pick, so, and I'm sure people in the crowd don't want to, throw a pick out and spit in my mouth. It's kind of gross. But that's some simple things you can do for fun. Tapping, please explore it. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. The pick slides and the hand slides are super cool too. They really make guitar playing fun. Even silly things, silly songs and stuff, when you incorporate tapping, they're way more impressive, like little melodies and stuff. If you figure out, like, I don't know, something, Mary Had a Little Lamb, try to tap it or whatever and see how that, it looks super impressive and sounds kind of cool. It gives you a whole different way to look at the instrument. You'll see the notes as just being on the neck, and things are less mysterious that way. If you like the video, throw a thumbs up on it. If you have any comments, please post below. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I don't cover, and there's always some points that you might have something you want to say about it. That's cool. By all means. Eddie Van Halen is a big one. Kirk Hammett. Anybody that came up. George Lynch. You think about all these players. Tapping was huge. Vito Bratta. I can keep going. Everybody that came up after Van Halen or around at the same time, tapping was monstrous. He might not have been the first guy to do it, but he's the guy that made it part of our popular guitar culture, and really made it part of our vocabulary. There's a lot of players that don't do it just out of principle, but I think it's certainly something you want to explore. It's a lot of fun, and it's like, if you don't do it, you're kind of missing out on a whole range of things that can just like make you smile when you're sitting at home playing around. So drop a like on the video, subscribe. I've got more lesson stuff to cover, but that's some fun things you can do. Just kind of messing around, not worried about learning songs or anything, just having fun, making noise on your guitar, especially if you got one sitting in the house and you just want to kind of have some fun. But please like the video, subscribe, visit us online at brgmusic.com. We got a lot of cool guitars and amps and PA and accessories, things that aren't even on our website. You can check out. Stop by if you're in the area. We're in Perry, Iowa, located about 30 miles northwest of Des Moines on Highway 141. Give us a call at 515-329-0120 or visit our webpage, www.brgmusic.com. I do lessons many days a week, and I'm happy to help if anyone's in the area. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Have a happy Halloween.